You are watching an episode of Inspired on the Faithful Sinners.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Faithful Sinners, where we navigate this messy thing we call life with a little bit of clarity and a whole lot of grace. Now, if you're new here, our mission is simple. We're here to sin. That's sharing, inspiring, and navigating with one another. We want to spark a light for believers and offer a hand to those that are still searching, all while keeping it real, grounded, and never overbearing. Now, on today's episode of Inspired, we're exploring whether your thoughts capture you or if you capture your thoughts. Too often I've let the worst case scenarios run rampant through my mind. And before long, I am beating myself up, calling myself a failure for letting this happen, whatever this happens to be at the moment. So now I do try to turn things over to God, but this verse in 2 Corinthians actually opened my eyes that maybe I'm not truly being faithful and trusting in Him completely. So when you read 2 Corinthians 10:5, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So the Apostle Paul tells us to take every thought captive. Paul doesn't say capture only the bad thoughts. He says capture every thought. Most of my life, I've actually missed that. Now, I understand what he's saying and why it matters, but when there's uncertainty, capturing our thoughts can feel pretty elusive, at least for me. But why would we need to capture positive thoughts as well anyway? Well, probably because whether we're standing on the mountain or we're walking through the valley, the danger's the same. We can easily become focused on our circumstances instead of His presence. So instead of riding the emotional roller coaster of circumstances, how about we try to pursue something different? How about we try to pursue obedience? Both with my negative thoughts and my positive ones have the potential to rob me of my relationship with Christ, because I can easily drift away from what I know about Him and focus instead on what I believe about myself. And those two things are very, very different. But learning to stop and pause before the thoughts run wild, well, that also might be where we find real free will beginning. I certainly haven't mastered this, but every day gives me another opportunity to take a step in the right direction. And that's important because real change isn't going to happen overnight. It happens with consistent repetition of effort that becomes autonomic in nature. Maybe the real question we should ask ourselves is this: am I going to trust God with what I don't know, or trust myself with what I do? The answer to that question can shape the thoughts that we allow to take root and ultimately who we become. Now, where this personally comes into the picture is with my kids. As you know, if you've followed me at all, I'm going through a divorce, and with the divorce, having 3 kids under the age of 18 has made many things challenging. I often don't know exactly what things are said when I'm not present. I know some of the things that were said when I was present, so I can kind of get a good gauge on things, but I also shouldn't prejudge and shouldn't put my thoughts of my insecurities on what my perception or belief of what their thoughts are. So that's been a challenge. It's not been easy. I know that I've actually probably caused a little damage initially with the relationship of my kids because of my own insecurities. And that's not fair to them and definitely not fair to myself. So, as far as taking control of my thoughts, it's first and foremost not allowing myself to presume or determine somebody else's thoughts. They need to actually express them for me to actually believe that they are true. And if I have a question, I need to ask. And that's fair for me to ask. If I had a concern, I should have the ability, and you should as well have the ability to ask those that you love and that love you, part of your family, these tough questions to help build some baseline of security when there may be concerns around those issues. Call to action, what I would say is a couple reflection questions for you. What thoughts are currently controlling you instead of you controlling them? And how are you allowing circumstances to shape your thinking more than God's promises? So before you move forward in your day, take just a minute and assess where you actually stand. Because each of us actually end up in one of just three places. And I use the acronym of SIN here. We're either striving on our own and believing we've got it all handled, or we've given up and we've isolated ourselves, or we're navigating with trust. Most of us, unfortunately, don't slow down long enough to recognize which one is actually shaping our decisions, our habits, and our spiritual health. So that's your challenge today. Take a beat and figure out where you may land. And please know, this isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, because we can't lead a family, a team, or anyone else if we're not leading ourselves well first. So friends, thank you for tuning in. If this episode has spoken to you, please do me a favor. Click that follow button right now. And don't forget to share this episode with someone who may need a little encouragement today. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and remember, we all sin better together.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Faithful Sinners with Timothy E. Baker. And don't forget to visit us at thefaithfulsinners.com.